Welcome back to Faith in Question. Today we're going to be discussing a question I get all the time, which is, Rob, you've been a believer your entire life. Why don't you believe in God anymore? Well, today I'm going to answer that question, but before I do, I have a few questions of my own. So let's get into it. Okay, Rob, you've read the Bible over and over again, and you know it frontwards and backwards, all the stories in the Bible. So why don't you believe in God? Well, first, here are my questions for you. Why don't you believe in the Easter Bunny? Or Santa Claus? Or why don't you believe in leprechauns? They all have stories about them and the magical things that they're able to do, but you only believed when you were a little child. Why? Because after you were old enough to think logically, you realize these are just man-made stories that really don't hold water anymore. Rabbits don't hide eggs, and fat men don't come down your chimney to give you gifts. Most houses don't even have chimneys anymore. And at the end of a rainbow, there's certainly no pot of gold or a magical leprechaun. So we're all pretty certain that these things don't happen, and these mythical creatures just don't exist. We just have to be the tiniest bit rational to come to these conclusions. And that's precisely why you don't find any 25 or 30-year-olds who still believe in the Easter Bunny or still believe in Santa Claus or leprechauns. We've also all come to these same conclusions when we think about the great gods of antiquity. And the first god that we all think of is Zeus. The ancient Greeks believed that every time lightning struck from heaven, that was Zeus throwing his thunderbolts down to the ground. But does anybody believe this story today? No. We know it's just a man-made story, and Zeus isn't real. They also believed in the god Poseidon, who ruled the waters. They thought that every time an earthquake struck, that Poseidon was taking his trident and slamming it into the ground, and that's what made the earth shake. But again, we know that's just a man-made story. Nobody actually believes that today. The ancient Egyptians believed that every day the sun going across the sky was their god Ra, who was traveling across the sky in his solar boat. But we don't still think that today. We know better. And the Norse people, they believed that Thor was striking his mighty hammer, and that's the reason why they heard thunder back then. But again, we know that's not true. We dismiss that notion without even giving it a second thought. And lastly, we have the ancient Hindus, whose god Shiva they thought was creating the universe over and over again with the cosmic dance that Shiva was performing. For most of us, that's a story that we've never even considered to be true. It's just a story. It's man-made, like all of these gods from antiquity. Now, every single god I just mentioned, they were the predominant gods of their time, and almost everybody believed in them. But all of us in the modern age, we think about these things rationally, and we come to the conclusion that these are just human constructs. They are no more real than the Easter Bunny, or Santa Claus, or leprechauns. Now, I hear so many Christians who say, I don't want to be wrong about the Hebrew God and end up burning in hell, but for some reason, with all the other gods from antiquity that we've spoken about today, we sleep like babies at night, not thinking at all about the repercussions of what these gods would do if we didn't serve them during our entire lives. So why is the Hebrew God so different? What is the proof that makes folks continue to believe in this God? Now, people tell me all the time, Rob, the intricacies of the universe and the vastness of the universe, or even think about what's inside the human body, how it all works together. That's the evidence that God exists. And I concede these are amazing feats that we do not understand. So is it possible that there is a God? Absolutely. It's definitely possible that a God or creator exists. But does that make it the God of the Hebrew Bible? Absolutely not. There's no more evidence for that God being the God who created everything than if I was to tell you that some kind of space elephant created everything. Those have the exact same amount of evidence supporting them. And any Christian who's being honest would have to admit that that's the case. So what, Rob? Are you an atheist now? Well, I hate the term atheist because in our Christian society, we've turned atheism into some kind of actual belief system versus what it actually is, which is not choosing to believe the narrative that's being told to me about the Hebrew God. If I don't believe that, I'm called an atheist. Okay, give me that label. That's fine. I'll take it. But I'm also going to call you an atheist when it comes to Zeus. and Poseidon, and Thor, and Ra, and Shiva, and the Easter Bunny, and Santa Claus, and leprechauns. You don't believe in any of them, so when you really think about it, we're all atheists of some sort. It's just that I happen to believe in one less far-fetched story than you do. Give that some thought. That's all for today, just a quick episode this time. Leave your comments below. I want to know your thoughts about this one, and if you agree or disagree. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, subscribe, hit the like button so more people can continue to see this content. We'll see you next time.